Thank you, Rob, and good morning, everyone. When I looked at the agenda this morning, I was thinking about the unacceptable hamster wheel experience of encampment sweeps, and that we'll be having a breakout session on how we talk about the traumatic effects of drug use and mental illness among our unhoused neighbors. I was looking forward to being with this community when so much around us in our local and national and global context makes it really challenging to imagine that we'll be able to bridge our differences and solve our common problems. And I realized that I was holding my breath. I think we're all holding our breath a lot of the time, which is why it was so important last week to reflect on what inspires us. Literally, the word from the Latin inspirare, to breathe or blow into. We were asking, what helps us breathe? So just for a moment, I invite you to focus on your own breathing this morning. You might close your eyes or whatever works and just notice the in and out of your breathing and the depth of it, and give it all you've got. We'll just take a moment together for that. So thank you all for breathing with me, and whoever had your mic off breathing, that was really wonderful to hear at the same time, breathing together. So thank you, Donald. I think that might have been you. Anyway, so welcome. And you know, as we're all breathing in our different spaces, I also had to think about our still pandemic time when breathing together in the same space has its own complications. So breath's important, and keep us focused on it. So welcome again, everyone. And I see some folks I haven't seen before or haven't seen in a while. So I first will remind everyone of how we run our meeting together, and then invite you to just introduce yourself if you're new or haven't been here for a while. And while this is a short time, it's not meant to be an explanation of what you do other than what you might be associated with, so we can contact you if we are interested in networking more. So in terms of our norms, we have a few things we ask you to do on Zoom, which are pretty typical ones. We have a raised hand function when you want to be recognized, and Rob would do the recognizing in general. And then if you are not speaking, we ask you keep your mic on mute so that we don't get distracted by outside noises. And if you're going to do something else during the session that you need to do, answer a phone or whatever else, to take your video off as well, so we don't have lots of hand waving going on as some people use when they're talking, even if they're not in a room with someone. And then we use the chat to share information, to network with each other, to have ongoing conversations. And it does not mean at all that you're not engaged in the meeting. So take that space, talk to people individually or communicate to everyone. If you're new and have a question about some general concept, that's a good place to ask it, and someone would respond there, which means we can have two things happening at once sometimes. And for our community norms, we haven't heard them for a while, so I just wanted to remind us of those. And I know Rob usually puts these in the chat, but if you don't have time to read them, or if you just joined us, we ask that we try our best and challenge ourselves to lead with an equity lens, to be aware of power dynamics, to challenge concepts rather than people, to listen, to learn, that one person speaks at a time and from our own experience, and that we make space for others, but that we also take up some space so we can hear the voices of all who are concerned, to assume best intentions and at the same time take responsibility for impact. Not having good intentions is one thing, but that's sometimes not enough. And then to be aware of time and agenda. So not speaking more than our share, and we're being aware that what might be coming up next. So with that, if you're new or returning, let us know that you're here and who you are and what group, if you're associated with the group. Just raise your hand for that and we'll get going. So Donald, are you raising your hand? Is that what you're doing there? I think you might be on mute. Well, we'll come back to you in a minute when you figure it out. You're still on mute there. So all right, we'll come back. Dora, was that you?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dora Williams. I work here at Seamart Community Health Center on the Hilltop. I am a homeless case manager here. I've been here close to 2 years. Matter of fact, it'll be 2 years, June the 30th. I do.
So we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Yes,
We're going to hear from you in just a minute, a little more detail. So thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to talking with you in just a minute.
And Donald, you're still not unmuted, and I'm trying to remember. I think it might be *7, or I'll send you a request to unmute.
He's actually been unmuted. It's just that when he's unmuted, his voice still doesn't come through. So I think it might be the mic.
Oh. Huh.
Well, Donald, I'll just say welcome back to here and to your passion for this issue, and we look forward to having whatever conversation you have to share today shared with us when that will work. And Rob will send you what he can to help you get the mic to work. And Julie, I see you have something in the chat. Julie Hoffman.
Oh yeah, just saying hi, introducing myself, excited to be here and to learn more. Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us. Look forward to having you. All right, and Kenny, I know you're back with us, so welcome. Just letting you know that we're happy to have you back as well.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. So anybody else who may would like to put your name in the chat, or any organization you're associated with, and I'll give it back to Rob, and we'll hear from Dora and others shortly. So
Fantastic. Thank you, Rosemary. And it is great to see everyone this morning. So let's get started with our first regular item that we do every week, and that is to talk about what we're seeing on the streets this week. The purpose of this portion of the meeting is for folks to be able to share with those in attendance about what's changing. And boy, is there a lot changing this week. And also what you see as a change of changing needs out there that maybe others in the room can help address. So I would like to open the floor to folks to talk about, among other things, the sweep that's taken place in the Hilltop this week and where folks have shifted to, and anything else that would be worthwhile updates about what's going on in the streets this week. And the first hand I see up is Jeffrey.
Good morning, everyone. I wasn't there for most of the sweeps, but I did drive by Evergreen after dropping my wife off at work. There are now 10 tents around the Evergreen campus. There are 2 new ones down on 7th and Tacoma. There are 3 over on the big grassy hill on Tacoma Avenue South, south of 21st. Haven't seen too many tents there before. There are currently 3 tents there. And that's what I've seen. There were some problems with 34th and Pacific earlier in the week with a suspected meth lab in a tent blowing up. somebody moving a big, huge trailer onto site, and another couple stealing a van that involved the police. The person whose van was stolen got it back and all his tools. That was the good thing. Those 3 people or 5 people that were involved in these incidents have now been kicked off out of that campsite. The people who are living there said, you cannot do that and live here. So they're all gone. That's pretty much what I've seen this week. Oh, and they are taking people in over at the Veterans Village. They have power now, and they have 12 people.
That's great news. Thank you for sharing that, Jeffrey. And Richard, I see you dropped some information.
Yeah,
in the chat.
I'm just pretty much fed up with this. They swept the 40 to 50 people out of L&M. As Jeffrey said, there's 10 tents now reset over at the Evergreen campus. The word out there is they'll post a 72-hour notice and do a quick sweep over there. There simply is no place for these people to go, and they need to stop this sweeping. It's ridiculous. As I posted, one woman's pregnant, she's swept. Tommy's got cancer, he's got stomach cancer, he's been swept. Everybody out there has got their own story, and they're messed up, and the city keeps sweeping. They have to stop doing this. There is no place for them to go. There is not congregate shelter. There is no permitted campground, and I'm a little frustrated, a little fed up. And so hence my comment to the city council from me as an individual, expressing my opinion to them about this circumstance. It's intolerable. I compare it to civil rights actions. They're going to continue to sweep people as if they're debris. And I think that they need to be held accountable. And to this date, they have not been. So it's frustrating. Keep watching, though. I think that this sweep is one too many. These are long-time homeless campers, and we're getting ready to see people start settling as the weather warms. So keep your eyes open. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Jay, and then Teresa.
Honestly, we can all be very upset about this, and that is true. We are upset about this. But at the same time, there are things that we could be doing. We could be working together when we hear about the sweep, take the first week to organize, and then take the second week to act in action and work with these people and try to get as much done as possible before the sweep. Or we can continue to be upset about it, make plans behind the table, and sit in inaction besides our words. So I feel like it's very important that we start looking at how we can network together, given the time that we have, and work together since we're here at this table, and try to get certain assistance to them within that week time frame before the sweep at least. It'd be nice if other things happen, but this would be super, super awesome to see. Like medical attention the week before they leave so that they have enough time to heal before it's time to move. That would be super helpful. And if we give these people a little bit more backing and treat them a little bit more humanely, they may be more willing to go into shelter and otherwise. Right now, they're just feeling super rejected, super hated, super displaced. So those are all things that we could do in this situation that we might want to look at working on.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that perspective, and definitely appreciate actually meeting you on site earlier this week. So really love your perspective. Teresa, I know you wanted to talk a little, I asked you to talk a little bit about what has happened in front of your home on G Street in response to what's been happening with the sweep.
Yeah, first I do want to say that I know from going up there that it made a real difference that Richard and Ed and Jay and a number of other people, the Lived Experience Coalition was up there. What Jay's talking about was happening to some degree. prior to the sweep and during the sweep. And the fact that the coalition is showing up some, and I really do credit Richard with putting the match under our behinds around that more than anyone else in the coalition, though there are a lot of other people engaged. But what happened, Richard also alerted me, he said, Teresa, you're not going to like this. He told me that people were being told that when they asked, where should we go, which is the most common question that you could find, they were being told, why don't you try down at 15th and G, which is my block. And they were told, why don't you try down at the Tacoma Rescue Mission, which is that long row of tents that I thought at first it kind of ticked me off. And then I thought, what are these people going to tell people? There are very few places that people are not going to just instantly try to push them out. There's a reason they went back to Evergreen. There's a reason they're coming down here. There's a reason they're going down there, and it's because we don't have another place for them. So my block is really, over the last several sweeps, we keep getting more and more people here. The core community has been impacted by it. We have a lot more noise, a lot less sleep, a lot more neighbors starting to get irritated, which is not what we want. So just, you know, yeah. What everyone's saying is absolutely true. This is a ridiculous use. Not only that, people who only care about money and taxes ought to care about this, because we spend a lot of money moving people out, and so that they can move back in when we move them out of the next place. Evergreen is a perfect example of that. So yeah, if you are interested in what Jay suggested, that maybe we do something preemptive, we do some kind of action that really makes a difference. Come on to those Wednesday planning meetings and let us know you're interested, because there are a group of us who are trying to figure that out. Thanks.
Thank you, Teresa, and appreciate your perspective as well. Anyone else who wanted to offer some information? Donald, I see you raised your hand. Are you able to unmute?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. I know I've been away for a while, but I've been keeping up. For 9 years, we've done everything out of pocket because we can't get a grant or anything. So, I mean, I'm not complaining. It's a history that God has given me. So what we've done is transitional house downstairs. We are orchestrating a homeless facility downstairs from the transitional housing, and holds 7 men. We've been donated the beds and the lockers. So that's what we've done in our neighborhood, and relationship with the Tacoma police department. They come down and patrol, basically. They're for homeless people. So they come up and down the street. We've gotten rid of the meth cars, also the meth house. We had the officers get that off the block also. So working with Tacoma and Lakewood police station, we're able to do more, because they're not putting them in jail or anything. They're just taking them out from behind houses and so forth. So that's what we've been doing, and it's been successful. So
That's great to hear. So where's the location of the site you're doing that at, Donald?
37th. What's that? 37th and Martin Luther King, is it? 37th Street.
It's 37th
and M.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I've lost a lot since I had the stroke, so bear with me.
No, that's perfectly fine, and it's really good to see and hear from you this morning.
Thank you.
So I know Sally, we had talked about, we thought maybe it'd be good for you to talk a little bit about what you noted before our meeting started about what's happening at the jail, and then we can close up on the street section.
So I've had occasion for different reasons to be checking the jail roster this week several times, and what's happening is there are very few bookings into the jail now, only for significant domestic violence offenses and violent crimes like murder. And so that's been true for the last couple weeks at least, and maybe a little bit longer. There is a COVID outbreak at the jail, and the jail is taking the necessary precautions to keep incarcerated people safe from illness, which they should be commended for. But what that also will mean is that the narrative is likely to pop back up on the street about how we called the cops and they can't do anything because nobody goes to jail. And so we just need to be prepared for that, because for anywhere where there is activity that the observing person thinks is criminal activity, the frustration level with what happens to the people who might be arrested is going to go up again. That's going to create, I think, additional stresses on unhoused people in general, just because of the rhetoric.
Yeah, thank you for that context, Sally. So appreciate all of the conversation about what's happening on the streets this week. And I hear the frustration. I share the frustration. I may have been a little more outspoken than I should be this week on Twitter, but it's good to see people pulling together to try to help folks. So let's move to our first item, first presentation on the agenda. I can't speak this morning. And that it would be an update on healthcare for the homeless from the folks at CMAR. And I know Kevin Roberts is on the call, and Kevin and Dora, I believe, we're going to talk with us this morning. So Kevin, I give you the floor.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is good to see everyone, and it's good to just be a part of such a big group of people that are focused on this. It's easy to feel siloed and alone in this, specific things that you do, but it's good to hear everyone else that's working to do the same work. So I work for CMAR Community Health Clinic. I am the program manager for the Community Health Action Team, or CHAT. We provide medical, behavioral health, and case management services direct to the shelter. So it's an outreach program that takes the nurse practitioner out and the behavioral health specialists and also case managers out to try and, give some direct, patient care. And we've been doing that for almost 3 years now with Elliot Bagwell, the nurse practitioner, and Anna. She's the behavioral health specialist, and then I have a few case managers that go out with me. And it's been a very educational experience. And what we do, again, is try to find, we try to bridge them back into regular healthcare and behavioral healthcare, and also connecting them with social services. And then we try to, advocate for them and support them, and then connect them with ongoing services after. So I like to say that if the situation is inflamed in their life, we try to address the inflammation and put them in a position to entertain other solutions. Because they're not in a position to entertain solutions until you take care of the core issues, which in what I've seen is it's usually behavioral health or medical. And so we try to get them connected and support them through the, entry back into services. And then we try to find appropriate ongoing long-term services. As far as an update, we did not get the grant funding that we were hoping for, and then also my nurse practitioner has decided to move on. So we won't be moving forward past June 16th, which is very unfortunate. We've been able to house about 30 people, and we were a part of a grant collaboration, the ESCGV grant from the county, which also, it kind of incentivized a lot of the collaboration that we've done with associated ministries and different things like that. And we've been able to get some people housed through there. Most recently, one of my clients that was is at the tiny house on 69th and South Proctor. What I ended up doing was getting him connected with all of the treatments that he had because he had Hep C, and we got him connected with the treatment for that. He's on his second round of the medication, so he's almost done with that cure. He's connected with behavioral health services. He's been consistently going to his doctor's appointments, and now in a couple of weeks he'll be moving into his apartment. But what I tried to stress with them is that there is a lot that there is to be done to help them, and it may seem really slow while you're on a waiting list here. So let's focus on your health here. Let's focus on the things that we can do, check those off. And this gentleman, actually, when I saw him, he looked so different because he decided that he wanted to shower that day. And he told me, yeah, in 2 weeks, I'm moving into my apartment. So it's we have many of those types of stories that we've been able to. And so it's, you can count on one hand. You'll get a handful of people and get 2 or 3 people out of that actually excel, but we'll take it. And we work in collaboration, of course, with the 11th Street Medical, which I'll have Dora kind of expound upon what she does here, because we do a lot of collaboration with her, of course. So I leave the floor for Dora.
Thank you, Kevin. Excuse me, everyone, my camera is not working well, so I didn't want it to freeze and you have this odd looking facial expression. So I didn't want it to be a distraction. I'm like, oh my God, what is that? But, like I said before, I've been here close to 2 years, and what my particular job is, I help the homeless, whether it's low income, it doesn't matter race, doesn't matter religion, it doesn't matter gender. They come in and they need any form of assistance. I refer them to our medical team here at CMAR. We have behavioral health also in the building as well. So whatever their direct needs are, I try to, help the intermediate barriers. The intermediate barriers may be needing a shower, needing clothes, needing hygiene products, may need to do a walkthrough of how to schedule an appointment with our PA here, Bob Hewitt, or how to get in contact with our behavioral health specialist, or even to seek help outside of CMAR. I help homeless with retaining their IDs, help them sign up for unemployment, help them sign up for food stamps, medical. I even advocate on their behalf as far as their housing. If they are in housing and they have issues with their landlords, I help them contact Coma Pro Bono, and I literally hold their hand through any situation that they may be facing. I allow the moments to come and sit in my office and just talk. A lot of them may not have been addicted to drugs before homelessness. And then within a 2-year period, especially women, to protect themselves, they get addicted to meth, try to stay away, keep from being attacked or robbed. I had a young lady who went into one of the shelters that I referred her to. I have a connection to Bethlehem Baptist Church shelter, family shelter, and also with Shiloh as well. I know them personally. So I tried to get people in and out of those places. So I had a young lady who wanted to get off drugs, wanted to go through the process of getting off drugs, but she said, I'm homeless, I'm staying on the street, and I gotta stay high, keep, be protected. And if anybody knows me, I'm a minister. I believe in Christ. I believe in loving people. I believe in encouraging them. And when she walked out of my office, she threw away her pipe. She threw away the cigarette lighter, and I just worked with her faith. And I let her know that if you believe that God will take care of you, it's gonna be fine. She threw her stuff away. We contacted Bethlehem. She went back into that shelter, and she goes into treatment at the end of the month. I'm a hands-on person, so I believe in, with CMAR's backing, I'm able to take the journey along with the client. And I think this is what we tend to forget when it comes to the homeless. We're all one step in some form of way becoming homeless. We have to take the blinders off and understand the person that's sitting in front of us. You know, no judgment. Some of them are very intelligent, educated, had a great life, and somewhere in there was a bump in the road. I sometimes print out things for them to read. I have stuff over, in my office to encourage them. I'm just a cheerleader, a spokesperson, an advocate for anybody who comes to that door who's in need. It doesn't matter what it is. If I can't put my hands on it, normally with Kevin, we come together and I say, hey, I have this person, they need their birth certificate, they need their ID, they need their social security card. And out of that, they want to work also. How do we get their birth certificate from another state? How do, what do you know anyone who have funds available that can help them? And there's times where I've even came out of my own pocket, to pay for hotel stays, to make sure that women are taken care of. I've driven. I had a young lady who's in a serious domestic violence situation. She needs to come out of Tacoma. I drove her to Portland to make sure that she was okay. So here at CMAR, we're not judgmental. We try our best to love on anyone that comes to the door. Now, our program is showers. We do showers from 8 a.m. to about 11:20, 11:30. Then we take a break between 12 and 1 for our medical staff to take a break. And then we resume back at 1 and we stop about 3:20. I give clothing out Tuesdays and Thursdays all the way up to about 3:30. We have laundry facility here as well. So it's first come, first serve. That begins at 8 o'clock. First laundry load goes in at 8. And then the second person, their load goes in at 1 o'clock. And one of the reasons why it's stretched out that way, so nobody's stuff have opportunity for their stuff to be stolen, that they can feel like, I'm important. We do have brand new washer, brand new dryer. So they have an opportunity to feel good, and we supply everything. When they take showers, we supply the soap, we supply the towel, I supply the clothes. The only thing that we don't give out is razors. One, we found them to take the razor apart, drop them in the drain. You don't know what they're doing in the bathroom. So we stopped that. But other than that, we just about supply with everything. They need socks and underwear, I give those out daily. They may not, want to take a shower. They may just want to change their clothes, where they have an opportunity to have socks and clean underwear daily. I know I like having clean bra and underwear, so imagine everybody else does too. I don't do full case management on Fridays. That's my research day. That's my going out to doing community research, checking on clients that have been housed. If I have to advocate on anybody, I try to do it that day, because the rest of the week is making sure that people's needs are met. I'm the case manager that stays in the building. So the chat team, when they're out, if they need anything, they run out of anything, I get a phone call, I need you to run downstairs and, get all the stuff together for me. So I'm just gonna come in, grab it, and leave. I also make hygiene packets for them when they go out. I make sure that they have coat, socks, underwear, clothes, pants, whatever that they think they're going to need when they go out, which they normally go out about Wednesdays as a group. Make sure, and then even I get phone calls from other agencies that they work with outside, and they say, hey, Ms. Dora, this agency needs this. I don't have an issue. I stop what I'm doing and I pack their stuff up and they come get it and they go right on back out in the street. So I'm just a community partner, and I just feel like we all came together with all these empty buildings due to COVID and all these empty houses due to COVID. If the funds could be raised where we could just, you know what I mean? Just come together and open up these buildings. And so we can house them and give people a chance to really, really give themselves a chance.
Thank you, Dora. So I did want to carve out a little bit of time for folks to ask questions. So I see Teresa has her hand up.
So first, I want to say that I've witnessed Dora being very welcoming at the center, and it's good to have such a place in the neighborhood, and the showers are important. I have a couple questions, and I'll ask them both. One is, do you have a waiting list for the showers? Are there lots of people waiting in line for the shower, or do you tend to have enough time to have everybody who wants a shower or who wants laundry to have it done? If so, wonderful, I'll send more people there. If not, maybe is there a possibility that something could improve that? And the second question is about the chat team, and wondering, who is somebody else taking over that work, or is it simply not going to be done? Also, where did your wonderful provider head out to? Where will he be working?
So the short answer is no, we won't be resuming. I know that I got a new boss just right at the end when we found out that we weren't getting the funding. And he was still very interested in coming out with us and looking at the work that we're doing and all the resources that we, amassed, all of our, collaborative agencies and stuff. And so they have expressed tremendous interest in doing this work again. We probably want to, the things that we learned from the first pilot, we want to try to do that differently when we form it. But it doesn't look like we're dead. I wouldn't have a timeline as to when we would be back. Because that new manager, he's there, and he's gathering information is what he's doing. And I think that what we're gonna do, if we do this again, then we're gonna do some things differently. So I couldn't tell you when the outreach portion is. And Elliot has not, either he hasn't found a place where he's going to land, or he just hasn't told us yet. So I don't have that information as to where he's going, but I know his heart was for the outreach work, and that if there was an opportunity, he would likely jump on it. He was very, very amazing in his position. I witnessed a lot of really cool things, like we would take a hot coffee out with us, and there was a young lady who had an appointment with Suboxone clinic, but she just couldn't get the energy to get up to go. And she said, if I could just had a cup of coffee, I could just have, she said that to herself. And here we go traipsing through the woods over there in DOT land in Fife with our hot coffee. And she says, wow, like it kind of restored her faith in the system, just that little, when we didn't know, we were just bringing coffee, but we gave her bus passes to where she was going. And I thought it was also very interesting that they didn't want any services until after the coffee. And then there was just a wealth of information about their health, and they wanted this. We got 2 visits out of it. Being healthcare professionals is counterintuitive to bring cigarettes, but I've seen this guy refusing services, and we're like off of Tyler down in the woods, because between Tyler and it's like 56th and 19th and Tyler, all of that area over there near I forget what, there's a lot of factories and services, but there's lots of trees, and they're down in there. And we went down there, and the guy was saying no to services, and then he was offered a cigarette, and I watched both his shoulders just lower. He just relaxed, he leaned, he started smoking, and he said, yeah, I have this medical thing and I have this and this and that. And it's just kind of the way in which we approach to gain access to them. And it's just different, it's unconventional. But we get it, and I learned that he speaks their language, you know. They call him Dr. House because they think he looks like House, and he does, and he just does a really good job. And then my care coordinators, just unconventional, grassroots. They'll go to their Facebook and they'll ask for donations for different things, because my philosophy really is that all of society, all of our community has the answers to this problem. If everyone would weigh in and everyone would feed them this day, you know, you could just do a day or a time during the day. That's how we'll get to the end of this problem. And so we try to engage the community, and they feel pretty good at the little, like having a hand in something, a small hand in what a bigger picture of, you know, where are we going to take these people? What are we going to do? And then one last thing is that Elliot also has a relationship with the sheriff's department. And we've been on pre-sweeps a lot of times just to figure out where these people could go before they sweep. So there's been a whole lot of collaboration with the HOT team and the sheriff's department.
Thanks, Kevin. And yeah, it's unfortunate to hear that the program's going to mothball for a while. I do hope you're able to bounce back. What are you going to be doing?
So I'm going to melt back into the Cushman Clinic. I'll have a leadership position there, so that'll hold me while I look to make some other moves, possibly within CMAR. I'm trying to see if they're interested in that, and I'm going to try to be a big part of when we start back up again, because this is my heart. I've lived in Tacoma all of my life. I was born in Tacoma General, and I watched as the young men that I did finger paintings with in kindergarten begin to join gangs, because I'm 44 years old, so that was my time. But I also saw that there was Al Davies and the boys clubs, the People Center. There was lots of things that we could do to take our time. We could, play sports, we could play music, over here. There was always these types of things. The community had the answers. And so I'm looking forward to getting back to that place where the community works together like that. And this coalition is very encouraging. I think we could do it.
Thank you, Kevin.
I'm sorry, to answer Teresa's questions, I tried to quickly put it in the comment section, but child was our first come, first serve basis. They normally line up probably around 7:30, 7:45. They come in, they give their name, their birth date. They don't have to show ID. And they just basically sign in, and as one, they have 20 minutes to shower. They are timed. So as one goes out, then my screener or myself, whoever works in that door, goes out and call the next person. So right now we're not overloaded. They're coming in kind of straggling now, but we know during the summer is when it gets strong. So we are going to, and we do have showers upstairs and downstairs. And right now we're only using one shower for security purpose to protect the things that are downstairs. But if need be, we will open the second shower downstairs.
Great. Thank you, Dora. And I want to thank both Dora and Kevin for coming to this morning's meeting. If there are additional questions, please use the chat, and hopefully Dora or Kevin can answer those. And again, just thank you. Sad to hear the news about the program mothballing, but I sure hope it can bounce back.
I think we will. I think we will.
Thanks, Kevin. All right. So next on our agenda, we wanted to do a short update on the effort that Richard talked about last week about mapping for encampments, and also the current planning effort to pre-plan for any upcoming weather emergencies. So I know we wanted to make this brief, but just kind of let folks know where things are at.
Okay, I'll make this brief, and I did not intend to be the mine, but it is for the moment. Essentially, I had a document, and I don't have it up, but sort of 5 steps that need to be worked on. One is I have some language I sent to Christine. I don't know her last name. Trigger might look like being based on a National Weather Service advisory for heat or cold and potentially air quality. And there's some good language out there. I took words from the King County protocols that they have in place, and suggesting that as a draft. The second part is outreach, how to do it. Christine also had a beginning of a spreadsheet with government, nonprofit, and other volunteer organizations and individuals that could respond. And I know that Garrett has a developing draft, even more extensive on who those people could be to get that out. Third part, getting supplies purchased, which again, Christine has a short, there are 5 items that would be purchased, and that request has been sent to Garrett, and I think there's some process going on there on how to get those supplies purchased. Once they're purchased, there needs to be storage of the supplies, and I'm not exactly sure who's on first, but I know that there's been some discussion so that there would be supplies stored in the Key Peninsula, out in the county, a couple locations in the county, and then perhaps 2 locations within the city of Tacoma, so that supplies could be made available. And then finally, and my interest on this, having done some of this during last summer and over the winter events, is some sort of mapping or identification of where encampments are. The frustrating thing was the obvious encampments, everybody knows where they are, and they tend to get overserved, whether it's meals or blankets, outreach, whatever. Everybody goes to those places, which results in the less known places not getting services. So the idea of getting some sort of mapping, and I had put out a request to the listserv, encouraging people to let Jeff Rogers know if they have an encampment, or identify an encampment, which could also include approximate numbers of tents. And I am including encampments down to the level of 1. There are encampments that have been in place for many months that is a single structure or tent. And even though it's only 1, I'm including those on my reporting. If it's transitory, if it's an overnight tent, I'm not doing it. But if it's something that's been there that's stable, I'm including those in the list. The point is that without a listing of where the encampments are, any outreach of those prior things of having supplies and trying to do the work, we're going to be ineffective. And so my hope is in the coming weeks, and as somebody had pointed out on a recent call, June is much closer than we realize. I think we're, 10 days away from June. We could have a weather event, hot weather, well, it seems like we could have a cold weather event the way things have been going, but we could have a hot weather event in short order. And I think we need to keep pressing to be ready with that, with knowing where the encampments are, having the supplies, having an outreach strategy, and knowing what our trigger is for responding to an event. So there you go. That's just my short outline.
Thanks, Richard. And I do see Stacy has her hand up.
Thank you. Hoping you all can hear me. I'm on my cell phone today. My question is one that keeps appearing every time the idea of creating a consolidated map of encampments comes up, as to what policies or procedures we're going to put in place to ensure that these locations are not misused by the city. And this is both a concern that, like, in order for all of us as partners to be able to share this information, there has to be trust that that information will not be misused. But also, I think as far as we have been upset by the increasing number of encampment sweeps. Like it is a privacy concern for agencies that are working with clients directly to give consolidated information to the city, or that might be accessible by folks that do not have good intents towards the unhoused. And I just want to know what we are doing to ensure that this information is protected.
I can take a quick response to that, and then I'm going to let it go. But I hear some people don't trust the city, some people don't trust the county, some people in the county don't trust the nonprofits, some people don't trust me, some people, yeah, I hear this fictitious parade of horribles, and I frankly, I don't believe it's real. I think it's a, I don't believe it's real. Consolidated list, it can be an unconsolidated list, but the choices are, do we find out where these encampments are to provide services, or do we let our paranoia take over and we just don't provide services at all? I don't think it works that way. I don't believe, I mean, I had somebody tell me they're worried that a change of the executive's office, that somehow they'll use it for political retribution and go, no, I'm not, I just can't go there. I'm not a conspiracy freak. And, I don't see it happening. I'm still taking off my shoes at airports for somebody that tried to do a bomb 15 years ago with a shoe bomb. It's not going to happen. And I don't think anybody that wants to harass or harm people in encampments would use such a list. How to protect it, how to do it, is we be careful. I mean, we're not going to put it on a website. We're not going to broadcast out a list of where encampments are, but rather for those people that are looking to go give services, that's the people that we would be providing information to. An alternative is to trust, have Jeff Rogers or somebody do the assigning of work so that somebody could do outreach in the Key Peninsula. Somebody else could do it in South County. It doesn't have to be a consolidated list, but if we have no list, if we have no information about where these encampments are, they're not going to get services. And that's what I would like to avoid. So there you go. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. I do know the privacy and security concerns, they do come up every time we have a conversation about mapping. I think in the past it maybe has paralyzed us a little bit, and we need to just devise some workarounds to make sure that people are kept safe. Jay, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
I think the biggest point is, at what point do we make the choice that for the good is what we're working towards? If we continue to block ourselves from doing the best work that we possibly can, we are needlessly continuing this in a time frame it doesn't need to be continued in.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. So yeah, I appreciate all the concerns. I do think we need to move on. If you do have information about sites that you don't feel is safe to share, then I think it's up to each of us to make that decision. But let's move on in our agenda. We are a bit behind, so I am looking at who's in the meeting. Let's see, she left. Let's shift gears and start our government updates a few minutes early, and then we will shift to the breakout conversations right after the government updates. So first on our list of government updates today would be Caleb from the city of Tacoma. Caleb, do you have information you can share with us?
Hello, everyone. Yes, I do have a couple of updates here. I know I've gotten to see a lot of you this week, and we've had a lot of conversations around a lot of different things. And I'll just be as broad as that because I know the city is doing a lot of things. And I know I'm part of the point person right now in a lot of those occasions, but I do love talking with you all. So please reach out to me. I gave my contact information again. I do encourage you guys to reach out to me so we can talk a little bit more. We do have another posting happening next week on Tuesday on East 11th Street and Hylabos. Is that how you say it? Hylabos, thank you. Which is adjacent to that waterway. And so that posting will happen on Tuesday, and it will be a 72-hour posting. The reason why we're doing that, that posting is because of the infringement that's happening on the waterway and some of the protected endangered species in the salmon fishing and water access is at a big concern there. So if you have, I'm sure you all will have questions about that, feel free to please ask. So that's the big update that I did want to give. I will post some stats as well about what the city is doing just for time sensitive stuff.
Okay, Caleb. One question I did want to ask is, do you have a sense of how many folks are currently residing at that space? And I presume that's on the other side of the bridge from downtown, close to Marine View Drive.
Yeah, that's a good question. So is what I understand it to be, it's, you know, the bridge comes over and there's I think it's on the south side, and there's that pull off area, and that's the area specifically that we're looking at. And it looked like the estimate was about 20 individuals were at that location.
Okay. And has outreach been done there leading up to this posting that'll happen next week?
Yes, it has, and I can give those stats here on what we're going to be posting as well, so I can put those into the chat on what the efforts are. Yeah, and of course there will be continuing outreach efforts happening starting as soon as on Tuesday to be able to connect with folks. There has been a lot of availability even this week in some of those Aspen courts and tiny homes. We've had an opportunity for couples as well that we've been trying to communicate with Lehigh and other providers. I think we had a couple of spots at the stability site that we've been trying to offer folks so that they can get housed as well. And that's including the current encampment cleanup as well.
Okay, thank you, Caleb. And yep. I see Ed's hand up.
Caleb, I can't keep my mouth shut. So in that environment, how many fish have we seen in that encampment? Because I see a lot more human souls than fish souls for the endangered fish argument. And do you realize this is the 12th sweep this year? You had 6 last year. This is the 12th this year. So you're playing whack-a-mole with these people all over the city. Your police were following them to the Evergreen location from that current location and said they're going to be swept there too. So this is getting, well, this doesn't border on the ridiculous. This is ridiculous. What are you spending our money chasing people around Tacoma? So I'm sorry, you're the point person, so you you get this. This is absolutely ridiculous. Sorry, but that's the way it is. So I'll shut my mouth now. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed, for the feedback. I appreciate that. I will say for the inclement weather stuff too as well, we are also preparing on the city side to make sure we have enough water and also masks just in case of if we have high smoke in the area. Because there's been some turnover in the staff, I know a lot of things have been missed in terms of ideas in the past. One idea that we did remember that was really important is that we're not just providing water, that maybe if we can provide electrolytes too as well along with that water. I know the cold part, keeping them cool as much as possible is always a concern. And I don't think we have access to a cold storage to be able to do that, but we will be storing them at the stability site. So on top of the conversation that we're having about coordinating how to get resources out to folks, we would love to be a part of that too as well, so we can help in any way.
Thank you, Caleb. So let's shift now to, I think I saw Jeff Rogers on the call. Jeff, do you have updates from Pierce County Human Services?
have one quick update I can provide. We just recently released a request for proposals, RFP. We are soliciting for a qualified consultant to assist our homeless service providers with developing organizational capacity to improve their behind the scenes work that they do as an organization, their financial work they do. We, during the COVID pandemic, have done way more contracting with agencies that are new to us and new to this kind of work with us. And I always say that getting government money is the easy part, but complying with all of the regulation rules and requirements that come along with it can be overwhelming. So we feel the need to identify a consultant that can work with providers to help them build that organizational capacity to be successful in managing government funds. So applications are due by June 10th at 4:30 p.m. and we're using a chunk of the American Recovery Plan Act, or ARPA, funding that our council has graciously given us to use for this effort, to work with our nonprofits and get them up to the standard we need them to be at to successfully do the work we do. If you want access to the RFP, it's on the Human Services website. If you just Google Pierce County Human Services, there's a link there to solicitations and competitive bids, and it's easily found. If you or you know anybody that may be interested in wanting to apply to help us with this work, that would be great.
Thank you, Jeff. And I see Dana with her hand up.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff. According to the NOFA of the Coordinated Entry System Enhancement, the timeline said that those awards were going to be announced on May 6th. So we haven't heard anything yet. So I'm wondering if you know when those are going to be announced.
Yeah, we always put approximately, so that May 6th was an approximate date. I do know that those awards have been determined. It's just that we have not been given the green light to put that notification out. I asked that question before this meeting this morning of the staff that's working on that, and they said we're not ready to release that yet. So hopefully it's coming soon. So yes, there is some great work and some awards that are coming with those funds very, very soon.
Okay, thank you.
And Jeff, one last question for you. I'm pretty sure you were on the call when Richard spoke about the weather planning and mapping request earlier. Anything you can update on progress on that?
I have a meeting with my supervisor this afternoon, and part of our discussion will be discussing that. I've asked a couple questions, and we'll have answers this afternoon. And I plan to specifically reach out to Jen Rumbuck specifically because of her concern last week. But we will share with the whole coalition. But I do feel a need to make sure that I do reach out to Jen individually as well.
Okay.
So more to come. I will tell you that we do, for the severe weather, we're working on a policy. I heard the mention of the King County policy. We have that King County policy. We're aware of it. We're looking at that as a base template for what we're doing. We're working with Pierce County Department of Emergency Management. The city of Tacoma has their own Department of Emergency Management. And we're also working with Puyallup, who has its own city Department of Emergency Management as part of this work, to work with other jurisdictions within Pierce County so that we're all as close as we can be to in alignment and in agreement with how we proceed and what all of our different policies say regarding this work.
Okay. Appreciate that update, and please keep us updated as we go along.
Yes.
Thank you for your work. So let's see, next on our list, I don't see Valerie on the call right now, and I'm sure she's out and about. I don't know, Lori, if you wanted to say anything. And you're muted, there you go.
Yeah, no, here I am. Hi, everybody. We are continuing to go out with, Siri keeps interrupting me. I hate Siri. We're continuing to go out with the rail assistance providers. The last week was really busy. We've been out on Key Peninsula 3 times in the last week or so. We're Next week we'll be at South Hill on Wednesday. There's a list of places where we're going to be with rental assistance on the Pierce County Human Services website and also on our Housing Justice Project website. So check there. There are some other things going on that aren't Pierce County Library events. We're also going to start being in June. We're going to be at Tacoma Public Libraries, and I think those events are only going to increase. We're also out at Sumner Bonnie Lake Family Center in a couple weeks, and again in June. Yesterday, I was out at the Tacoma Recovery Center, not with rental assistance, but just at Tacoma Pro Bono, and that was a great experience. I think everybody I spoke to is actually homeless, but working through stuff and wanting to solve problems, it was pretty inspiring. So rental assistance is going to run out. We got a report about that from Commerce at one of our meetings, which I didn't attend, but for people who are providing eviction prevention services, I think I can share that with people. I just got a link to it myself, just kind of explaining what's left and what's going to take the place of it. We've had billions to spend. It's going to run out. The state provided funding that's going to take its place is like $40 million. So we're going way down. I think Valerie's working on setting up the requirements for our Pierce County program, and it's looking good. It's going to require some buy-in from tenants in order to get that rental assistance. They're going to need to do some preparation to, know their rights, learn how to be a tenant, how to, make sure you can keep paying your rent, that kind of stuff, which is really important. And we haven't had those controls before. So there's a lot going on, and Valerie could explain it in great Valerie fashion. I'm just trying to kind of get it all out there.
Great. Thank you, Lori, for that continued work, and appreciate
one more
it.
thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
One more thing. Anyone who gets a 14-day notice does not mean you need to leave in 14 days. Broken record, contact us if you need information about how to deal with that. Sometimes if you get that notice, you're gonna need help because there are other things going on. But mostly stay in your place, talk to your landlord. It does not mean you need to leave just because you can't pay. We still have money.
Yeah, can't say that message enough, so appreciate it. Oh, all right, excuse me. So I know Jenny was not able to join us from the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department, but I'm not sure if anyone else is on today's call who wanted to offer an update. If not, I know she sent an update to our mailing list, but wanted to offer the opportunity if someone else is in today's meeting and wanted to speak.
Hi, Rob, it's Leah. I do not have an update from Jenny, and I wasn't prepared to speak, so I'm so sorry. But if anyone has any questions, just put them in the chat and I'll follow up.
Thanks, Leah. And yeah, Jenny did send something to the mailing list, so I think we're covered, but just wanted to offer the opportunity in case someone was here. So appreciate you offering to be available in the chat. And I also don't believe we have anyone from Pierce County Emergency Management on today's call. Not seeing any hands go up. So let's shift as promised to do our breakout conversation. And we will start with a review of last week's conversation. Timothy, I can bring the document on screen if you would like to kind of walk us through what you pulled together.
Great, happy to do that. And I just dropped the document in the chat as well for people who want to download it. This was a kind of a, I mean, it's always fun to do this, but this one was unusually cool to do because it was just so great to see what inspires people about being here. And as always, I did my best to just kind of break it into categories to make everybody's feedback more, I don't know, digestible. And, you know, the first thing that came up is the successes that we see, not just here, but in other places, and the information that gets shared about that. A lot of thoughts about how our community inspires us. A lot of people talked about the struggles and the strengths of unhoused people that we work with and drawing inspiration from that. People talked about spiritual inspiration that they draw from their faith, and other sorts of spiritual inspiration. People talked about the people that they work with, co-workers, volunteers, or radical comrades, people who really, really work hard and truly care. We see that here every week, which brings us to the coalition shout outs. A few of the giants among us were mentioned by name. Somebody said it's inspiring to see what everyone here is bringing to the struggle. People talked about the breakout sessions being something that they particularly appreciate. It's a way to interact and get to know each other, and how the passion here becomes action, turns into action and policy. People talked about how much they liked that we're getting back together once a month, the first Thursdays. I like that so much that I put it in the notes twice. And then people talked about various readings and music, and just to help people find their way if they're interested in looking at that, I found a few links that you can click on. And some folks just talked about some of the practices that they have, that the things that they do to kind of keep themselves inspired and fresh. One person brought up the idea of a gratitude board. I didn't know what that was. I had to look it up. It's kind of a cool idea. I think a lot of us that have been in this work for a long time know how much, how important gratitude is to keeping inspired and recognizing the parts of this that keep us going. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Great. So thank you as always for your help pulling that together. Let me see if I can get my control back. Oh. Great. Now I'm having technical issues. Garrett, can you stop the screen share so that I get my controls back? Since you're here. I guess there's a first time for everything here.
Did that work?
No, well, at least not on my end. There we go.
Oh, now Garrett's sharing. Oh, there we go.
That's how I stopped it, was by sharing myself, because I don't know how to do it the other way.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but technology was not our friend for a moment. So let's move into today's breakout conversation. I wanted to set aside some time. This was actually a topic that was raised by Garrett at our steering committee meeting on Wednesday. And we thought it would be important for folks to share how they talk about the issues of substance use and mental health challenges as it relates to our current homelessness challenges. And I think the setup for this is that quite frequently in years past, there's been an effort, I think, on the part of advocates to separate the issue of homelessness from the stigmatizing issues of substance use and mental health. And there's a movement, understandably, to try to actually address that head on. And so we thought it would be helpful for folks to share how they talk about those two issues of substance use and mental health as it relates to homelessness. So you know the routine at this point in terms of the breakouts. I will send you to rooms with try to have 5 or 6 people in every room. And if someone in the room could take notes and bring them back here and paste them in the chat at the end of our time, we will have Timothy pull together our summary document and talk about it next week. Anything that I'm missing in the setup for this, Garrett? Okay. All right, so let's go. I'm going to cut this a little short because we're running behind on our agenda. So why don't we spend about 10 minutes today talking on this topic, and we'll come back here. Well, we'll come back here at 10:30, so we'll do about 13 minutes. So away we go. All right, so welcome back, everyone. I see everybody's, one of the best things about coming back from breakouts is everybody has their camera on very briefly. It's a lot of fun to see everybody. So a reminder, please, if you took the notes in your room, put those notes in the chat so that Timothy can do his hard work. And I am going to shift on to the rest of our agenda because it's going to be a bit of a sprint to get done today. So let's see. The next item I would like to do, let me see. Jenny, would you like to do a quick update about where things stand with housing vouchers?
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So update on emergency housing vouchers. I'll share the numbers with you. For Tacoma Housing Authority, as a reminder, there's 135 vouchers total available. There are currently 37 households that have been leased up, and there's 33 more that have been issued. So that means they're in various stages of looking for a unit, looking for housing, maybe waiting on an inspection, something like that. So current utilization for THA vouchers is 27.41%. That is low, but I will tell you it's on par with the national average for other jurisdictions and their EHVs. Because I don't have to tell all of you, getting people into housing and getting that lease signed is our biggest challenge, right? It's not getting them the voucher in their hands. Pierce County Housing Authority, they have a total of 62 vouchers available. They currently have 11 households leased up, and they have another 37 that have been issued. So their utilization is at 17.74%. And just as a reminder, that utilization number is something we're tracking heavily, because any vouchers that we have not utilized, and utilization is based on they have a signed lease and they're in their unit. Any vouchers we haven't utilized by the end of December, so December 31st, will be recaptured by HUD. And basically taken up from us. If we have all of them utilized, then we can request more to come into our community. So we're really, really pushing for that. But it's a lot of work. I will tell you all, it's a ton of work getting landlords to move these households in and get them vouchered up. We all know it's illegal to deny someone who has a housing voucher, but it doesn't mean that landlords don't put up as many barriers as they possibly can for these folks. So it's really great that they do have the services attached to these vouchers, because it is such a struggle. These households would be really hard pressed to get leased up on their own. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Great. Anybody want to ask a question directly, or it can also be done in the chat. So. Not seeing any right now, but Jenny, I appreciate you giving us an update, and maybe we can just periodically do this as we move through the year. We're all fingers crossed, hoping that we get to utilize all those vouchers and maybe even bring more.
Us too. Community. So yeah, happy to give numbers anytime you want.
Kenneth, I see your hand up.
Jenny, so my question, the vouchers are only for people who are renting like an apartment or a house, right? They can't be used for shared living homes.
They can, actually. We can house people in a shared living situation. What happens with the voucher is if we put someone into a shared living situation, the amount that's paid against the voucher is prorated by the housing authority. So it would be less that would be paid by the voucher, dependent on varying things like what the community spaces look like, you know, all of that kind of stuff. But we have done that already. We've leased some folks into shared housing situations.
All right, because I'd like to talk to you more about that. We're developing a program called the Where Did They Go Foundation, and we're taking homeless people immediately off the street in the condition they're in, and housing them while we provide services to them and preparing them to rent. And so a lot of that's going to be done in a shared living environment, and then there's what they call long-term shared housing that we're developing, and so we'd be interested in the voucher program.
Okay, yeah, I'll drop my email in the chat. I'll drop my email, and you can send me an email, and we'd love to, you know, hear about what's going on with your program as well.
Great, love seeing those connections. And Donald, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say we really need those the programs that she talked about. I have guys that has been there 3-4 years and don't want to go anywhere. So, but I knew if we had something else to present them with, as far as housing is concerned, it would be better for our program. It'd be another step for our program. So, I mean, if it's gonna be on the chat, so I'll find out our information. I can talk to it.
Great. Sounds good. So thanks everybody for that conversation. Let's shift in our agenda. I wanted to offer a quick advocacy update, and part of this is super timely. So I didn't realize until looking at this upcoming week's agenda information that the Tacoma City Council is actually holding a special workshop meeting today at 1 down at the Center for Urban Waters. And among the topics that they're going to talk about at this meeting, this workshop, are briefings related to community safety and housing and homelessness. So I am going to drop in the chat the information about how to attend today's meeting at 1 if folks have an interest. This can be done, let's see here. Now it's not working for me. This can be done also on Zoom. So if you have an interest in tuning in on Zoom, that will be an option as well. And there's the information about how to join either on Zoom or in person. Again, that meeting is a workshop. So my assumption, and it might be wrong, but my assumption is that there will not be a public comment portion of this meeting. So it'll be very informational with the council members speaking with each other around these priorities. And I see Sally's hand up if you want to add some more information.
It will be recorded, and the city clerk says it should be posted on the city's website by the end of the weekend, if everything works the way she hopes.
Great. So that is a special meeting, not a normal occurrence, but an opportunity to listen and hear where the city council's priorities are on both community safety and housing and homelessness. They're also going to be talking, there's a third topic regarding workforce development and other priorities. So that would be of interest if you have the time to tune in. The study session that's coming up on next Tuesday at noon includes an update on how the city is planning to spend the dollars raised from the 0.1% sales tax that supports affordable housing. That's the funding that's being collected within the Tacoma City limits, the same funding that the Pierce County Council currently has not enacted on the county-wide level. So that would be an interesting topic for us to follow next Tuesday. And then during the Tuesday evening meeting, the council's regular meeting is a community forum. That's an opportunity for folks to talk directly with the city council about, what we would like to see them do regarding sweeps, and more so, rather than even complaining about sweeps, is to encourage and demand that the city create safe sites where people can actually go, and so we can answer that question of where can I go. It seems to be the question every week, and we don't have an answer, and we've been spinning our wheels in this same position for well over a year. So that's an opportunity at the meeting Tuesday night at 5. The Pierce County Council next week is scheduled to hear and decide on a revised safe parking ordinance. That ordinance as drafted would allow up to 4 civic sites to host safe parking, in addition to the churches that are already allowed by state law to host safe parking. And this would be an interim regulation under ordinance. The county council meeting where this will be decided is on May 24th at 3 p.m. You can go Google the Pierce County website and get the information to join that meeting, either in person or virtually. And then I wanted to also share an opportunity that folks could, if you're interested, there's a training taking place next week that's being run in cooperation with the organization that I'm working for now, the Washington Low Income Housing Alliance. This training is related to the housing justice narrative, and I will post a description of the training in the chat, as well as the link that you can use to sign up and join this training. It takes place on Tuesday and Thursday next week online from 2 to 4 p.m. on both days. So wanted to share that opportunity for those who might be interested. And this really is around training advocates for how to use the language around housing justice to frame the conversation around affordable housing for all.
Rob?
Yes.
Also, next Wednesday, the county council is having an in-district meeting. So this is District 6, which is Lakewood, Parkland. So council member Hitchin, and it's a special meeting that they do. Each district has one every year, right? So there's the normal council meeting on Tuesday and the special council in-district meeting on Wednesday, 6 o'clock. Lots of discussion around homelessness. So Bill Vetter is going to present, I think, a really pretty brief overview of the Echo Northwest report. There's going to be a little bit of context around homeless work that the council's doing. I'm presenting on the comprehensive plan, sort of an update of where we are. And then 3 mayors are going to come and talk about their initiatives around homelessness, or at least discuss homelessness in their communities. So that's Jason Wallen, the mayor of Lakewood, Ron Frederick, the mayor of DuPont, and Dick Murray, the mayor of Steilacoom. So I think it'll be interesting. So I'll be there with Delmar Algie and Heather Moss, our director of human services. So, and again, it's at the Lakewood Council Chambers, 6 p.m. Wednesday. And you can Google it on the county website as well.
Do you, will there be a virtual option for people to listen in, or do you know?
I would expect so. Let me.
If you see that, just drop it in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, there is Zoom. Yep, there's a Zoom option.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. That's a great addition. So Garrett's touched on the update about the Pierce County Comprehensive Plan to End Homelessness. We don't really have other content to share related to that this week. The next meeting of the advisory board, which I sit on as a representative of the coalition, as a second for Maureen Howard, who's been able to attend. The next meeting of that advisory board takes place on the first Friday in June. So there will be updates coming from that soon, but nothing to share this week. Let's see, we talked about, so let's shift on to an update from Jan about Safe Sites for All.
Yes, acting as a co-lead, and I'm not sure, were we gonna put this before the coalition that I can act as a co-representative with Ed Jacobs on the DEM? I went ahead and presumptively asked DEM if I could attend the their planning session for adverse weather, which was scheduled for today at 1 o'clock, and it's been canceled. So I don't know if that's a good omen or a bad omen, but my first meeting has been canceled with no news as to when it might be rescheduled. So Rob, was there a need for the coalition to take action on whether or not I would? There isn't. Okay, that's
no. We just wanted to let folks know that you were going to be joining Ed and sitting in on those meetings.
Okay, right. It was just to be sitting in on the first meeting, yet to be determined from this point on. Richard Dorsett has done a good job of research. He has provided some articles and suggestions on what we should consider as thresholds and triggers. That has been our problem. There seems to be a jurisdictional either absence of acceptance of what should trigger an emergency response, or not a let's say complete acceptance of what should get us into motion as far as having any kind of concerted effort if there's an emergency for weather. And Richard has provided some documents for that. He's also found some policies from other jurisdictions that we are going to take a closer look at. And we're inviting all government agencies that have any kind of an emergency management system to join our Monday Zoom meetings at noon. Just go to the coalition website. Christine Lindquist has sent our request for funding of the 5 essential items that we would like to know if we can actually provide those who are living unsheltered to Human Services, the Pierce County Human Services. So we'll see how our request for funding for purchasing is seen by them, if we get the money or not. And then I am glad to hear that we've got new language that's been drafted for a revised edition of an ordinance that is considering 4 civic sites. Our safe parking network is acting, we are the experts. We have successfully completed pilot project for safe parking, and we've not been pulled in very deeply into the conversation with the county ordinance, but we are very interested in what the county is doing. So I'm pleased to hear that civic sites are being considered, and I'll let anybody else jump in here.
Thank you, Jan. Anything that you wanted to add, Ed or Richard? And it's fine if you don't. So next on our agenda, any coalition committee updates that we would like to share?
Nothing from governance or race and equity this morning.
Okay. Thank you, Rosemary. And so that brings us some opportunity to talk about any announcements that would be good for the folks who are still in today's meeting. I do see your question, Timothy, about the forward operating base Hope site, and I think Jeffrey's waving his hand vigorously, so he'd like to answer that.
I do. Monique is not here, and she has asked me to speak for the camp. They have electricity. The generator got turned off last night. And thank you, Caleb. You really did some pushing on that. Thank you. They have 12 people in there right now. We fed them last night, my church. And anybody else who wants to step up and help to feed them, it would be greatly appreciated. 3 couples and 6 individuals are there, and several of them have dogs that met my dog yesterday. So everybody had a good time. And I heartily encourage everyone to go out and check out the site. Ruby is the site manager, and she would love to give any of you a tour of what they've been doing out there. It's been a tremendous job. Thank you much.
Great. And Ed, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I heard, or I was told, that that site is now full because of a waiting list.
Okay.
So we need to know if there are beds at that site, if there's room for folks.
To the best of my knowledge, there is a waiting list, but they're filling up very slowly. And things are in a flux currently as I see it. So I would encourage, if you run into somebody who's a vet and is in need, refer them. It's the more names we get on that list, the better it is for possibly getting a second site set up.
Refer them as in have them call to see if there's room,
Yeah.
rather than just tell them that there's room.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for that question, Ed. And Teresa, your hand's up.
Jeffrey's right. It's a wonderful thing to go out there, and they've done a great job of setting it up. It's very welcoming. I want to offer, my friend Elliot gives me these. They come with medicine, and they have a nice little lid. They're made out of styrofoam, and no one likes to have styrofoam be a single-use item. So, oh, also, there are these little freezer bags in them. And if you're willing to come and pick some of these up, I'm willing to freeze these for you. I'm hoping they might be useful to somebody. I said yes. I have 10 more coming very soon. And I would be delighted to not have them on my porch, but have them in the hands of somebody who can use them. So I'm going to put my contact in the chat. Please be in touch. Also, I sent out something to the listserv, and I know you all just pour over everything that I send out, but in case you missed it, Forward Operating Base still needs 5 pillows. If anybody is interested in helping with that, let me know. I'm going back out there this afternoon to bring the pillowcases and a few other things. Also in that email, there's some stuff that the Rise Center needs. So I sent it out not so much thinking that any of you might be able to meet all of these needs, but that maybe you would know somebody who could help. So please take a look at that. And that's it.
All right, thanks, Teresa. And those coolers could come in handy if we get warm weather. So, anyone else with items for the good of the order? All right, so I do want to remind folks, if you have reflections on today's meeting, please use the chat to let me know what worked well, what didn't work well, and what can we do differently next week. We're always looking to improve these meetings. And one of the things that we actually just started recently to improve these meetings is to carve out space for people to share success stories. So I know the folks from CMAR shared a couple of those earlier, but does anyone else have success stories that they would like to share today? And I see Jan's hand up.
Yes, earlier in May, we had a featured program, Lorraine Tomich from Elevate Health, who talked about the coordinated effort to do some medical respite for those who are medically fragile living on the streets and experiencing homelessness. And then we had a breakout session. This coalition, Friday Coalition, had a breakout session. And Timothy Harris did an amazing job of compiling the notes from all the different rooms. And I forwarded that to Lorraine Tomich from Elevate Health, and she was very grateful to hear that not only was her presentation well received, but she's taking those ideas and observations back to the work committee that is creating this medical respite center. So thanks to all.
Thank you, Jan. And we have a couple of moments if anybody else has a success story they'd like to share.
That's so many.
Yeah, Kenneth.
You guys hear me? So we just launched a new program called Where Did They Go Foundation, and we partnered with the RISE program. And in the last 60 days, we took 30 homeless people off the streets and got them on treatment with ongoing services and housing. So I'm excited about this new model and approach we're doing towards homelessness, and look forward to sharing more with you.
Thank you, Kenneth. Great news. And Rosemary.
This is not a success story that I knew about till today, but seeing Donald, seeing you here and recovering, it's wonderful to have you back. That's a good success, and I look forward to having your work continue in the world. So that's it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of us who agree with that. All right. So if we would like to get a couple minutes back in our day, we're at 10:55. We have actually run through today's agenda. So I want to thank everybody for being here today, and hope to see you again next week. If you have the time and the ability to hang with us, we will have a small group planning next week's meeting right after this, but we're going to take a 5-minute break. So have a good, safe weekend and enjoy the sunshine. We'll see you all next Friday. It's good seeing you, CC.
What's up, Garrett? Mr. Nyland.
Cece, I heard your name, and so I came back.
What was that?
I heard your name, so I came back. It is.
I have about 10 more months, then I'm going to retire, y'all.
Nice.
Oh my.
That means I'll have more time for the coalition.
Yes.
More time for good trouble.
Has anyone already asked you to be on their board?
No.
Put a pin in that. New Connections wants you.
Well, you know what? I'm about to let you have me.
Wow.
Wonderful.
I think we should have a little bidding war at the Northwest Furniture Bank. We have coffee and donuts at our meetings.
Knock it off. I got here first.
I was going to say, is that a threat?
So 8 more months.
10
more months. Yeah. And do you have someone good that is going to take your place?
My maintenance man just pointed at his chest and said, me. You could do it, B. So I don't know. But time's going by really, really fast. I'll tell you that.
I hope they do a good transition. That makes the world of difference.
I will do everything within my power to make sure that happens. And I'm pretty pushy.
You're strong. You're not pushy. You're strong. Are you staying in here for the planning meeting?
Well, I just wanted to ask the people that are doing the planning meeting if we could, in the future, talk a little bit more about substance abuse challenges. The 2 issues that I see a lot of people struggle with, one, getting them to me and getting the papers they need to get into a house. while they're struggling with substance abuse issues. And I don't know if outreach workers do brief interventions. I don't know how that works, but I think we need more support for folks who are struggling with substance abuse issues. And then when I move people into places, because they're still trying to transition from being homeless to being housed, with a lot of them, the substance abuse goes up before it comes back down and tapers, tapers down. So I would like to propose that with all this new money that is around that I've heard about, what about outreach workers that are transitional outreach workers that help people transition from being experiencing homelessness to being housed? And I know that people have case managers like at MDC, but if we had outreach workers where their forte is substance abuse and mental health and transitioning from being not housed to being housed.
Well, we put money in for critical time intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, I think it's 1.5 million over the next 2 years to, be for the general population experiencing homelessness. But the goal is to have sort of a navigator, case manager connected to the person, not necessarily to the program they're in. So I think that's the closest we've gotten. It's definitely not only focused on mental health and substance use, but
That's something though.
Yeah, so that's something new. I mean, we've started critical time intervention, but we haven't funded it. It's only been Medicaid waiver funded. And so that meant it had to be a very specific, set of criteria, which really is just chronically homeless single adults, basically. And so with this, it's anybody, experiencing whatever we want to call homelessness is. So, and some financial assistance for driver's licenses and, things, AM does, but so I think that's just, and we're going to see what that's like, right? So I think that's going to be, I think it's contracted to Inside Passages, so Jenny Lorton. So that might be worth having a chat with her if they want to look at, prioritizing people with behavioral health, right? Like, I think you kind of get behavioral health because homelessness is so damaging, but.
Okay.
And
so
there's a big,
throw that out there.
There's a huge appetite for us to be doing more of that. And I think we just need to show its benefit in some way, right? And so again, tracking enough data that matters. So is it duration of homelessness? Is it income, right? We don't track a lot of statistics around other behavioral health elements. So that's the question, is do we want to start doing more if our targets are not just those outcomes, but quality of life outcomes and things like that.
Yeah, and I was thinking more along the lines of harm reduction and brief interventions. Not trying to make people be clean and sober or whatever, just reducing the harm and helping increase the quality of the transition. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and then again, that's that idea, is that crossing from their first episode of homelessness, having a case manager that helps you navigate the whole way, right? Again, it's harm reduction, trauma informed, right? I mean, the goal is to be exactly what that person needs, right? Not what we think they need.
Right.
Exactly. We're actually.
That's all I got. Thank you. I have to go now. See y'all later.
Thank you.
So
So let me look to next week's agenda and what we have, and what we don't have a ton on next week's agenda right now. I do have a community spotlight with Chrissy Cooley from the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department coming to talk about homelessness and the impacts on water quality. So Teresa was real quick to line her up for that. And
there's another little semi spotlight that could just be a regular agenda item. I talked with Jake because he was on today, and he's transitioning out of their program and wants to introduce the new person who's going to take his place, and could maybe talk a little bit about the program and what's happening with it because it's undergone some changes.
And that's the HYPE program?
Yeah.
Okay. That would be good. And
So
would
do you want to
Jake's-
make it into 2 community spotlights, or do you want to call it something else?
We could probably do it as a second community spotlight. We've done 2 a few times before.
Okay, I'll just send him the same info then.
Okay, that'd be good. Let me change that in my notes.
I'm glad that the stuff about the environment came up today, because that's kind of a good setup for the spotlight next week.
Yeah, it is. And I'm aware of the site that Caleb mentioned. It's actually a place where I've seen a number of RVs pulled off in the pull off there right next to the bridge. They've been there for quite a while.
Yep.
I'm curious if there's been an increase over what I saw a few weeks ago there, but
I'm curious if it's a fishing site, because I'm, hungry.
well, actually, the interesting thing is, yeah, you can fish there. But it's in that kind of area that's where the salmon, when they come out of the Hylobos, mill around before they go out into the ocean. So even though it sounds like BS around the potential environmental impact, it probably is an issue there. I just don't know why that's the next site they chose, but
yeah, I was thinking they were going on a hunting trip for fish. They're hunting humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I ran through that area a few weeks ago, there was probably 5 RVs and quite a few people there, and it looked like they'd been there for quite a while. But it was a much smaller RV site than what I saw on Milwaukee Avenue leading toward the port headquarters, which looked a little bit like, I mean, it was pretty rough. So, yeah. So I don't have any major presentations lined up for next week. However, here are some of the ideas that we have that we could pursue if we want. We had talked about pulling together maybe a panel or to talk about the topic of the impact on homelessness on neighbors and businesses. I don't want to do that in a half-assed way, so it would be good to actually get that planned a little bit ahead of time. So I don't know that pulling that together for next week is too realistic. We also had talked about maybe inviting Ned Whitting from the Puyallup City Council to come talk about the efforts that are underway in Puyallup. And I'm not sure what his schedule's like, but I could reach out to him and see if he'd be interested in doing that. One thing to consider for next week's meeting is we may have a smaller attendee list because of the holiday weekend. Garrett let me know he's not going to be here next week. So it could be a smaller group of us. But does anybody else have any burning topics that they would like to see us tackle next week?
I recommend that we have maybe a shorter meeting,
Well, we could.
just because it's a holiday. Say people, we're going to work on making this a maximum of an hour-and-a-half meeting, and so that you get off to a good start on your holiday.
Yeah.
And I don't know about inviting somebody unless we're okay with them having a smaller audience, because I think that you're right. There will be fewer people.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Donald, I saw you raise your hand. And you're muted right now.
Sorry, I'm getting used to this again. But yeah, I agree with what she just said, and it's a great need. for that, you know,
Yeah.
because we're trying to open up the homeless place from our downstairs, 3 stories, and whatever help that we can get to do that, or get to help us finish the program out, it would be highly appreciated.
Okay. Great. And anybody else with thoughts for next week's meeting? I am open to making it shorter. So Rosemary?
I was just wondering if, in terms of having an opportunity to network, if we could have one that's something like, what are some things whatever you're working with needs? I mean, Teresa's presented some ideas that FOB Hope needed. I'm sure that the houses that Donald and Kenneth are working with have needs. Not that we would necessarily be the people who could provide them, but if we know what folks need, it could amplify what we do with the coalition listserv as an opportunity to share what we might have or what we might need. That's just an idea for a way to talk with each other and also get some stuff known about.
A swap meet.
Yeah.
A Zoom swap meet.
Yes.
That wouldn't be chaos at all.
I think we could do it.
No, maybe that can be our breakout conversation, is just a chance for people to share, like, what are you working on and what are some of those needs, so we can get the needs on the list that Timothy pulls together.
Yeah.
Maybe also the volunteer needs, because that was an interesting thing that Dora talked about, that they can only have one of their showers open because they don't have the volunteers they would need to just move people back and forth. So it would be cool to come up with a list of the volunteer needs and the material needs that people have, but also any material goods that we have that we can share with others.
Yeah, okay, let's make that kind of our breakout conversation next week.
I think you ought to call it a swap meet, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so before we stop our planning meeting, I see Nick Turner's on the call with us. Nick, anything you wanted to add or make sure we thought about for next week?
No, sir. I'm just sitting and listening.
Okay. Yeah, just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Anything else we need to cover for the good of the order? This will be the shortest planning meeting ever. Jan, I see your hand.
Teresa, what time are you heading out to Monique's place?
I'm planning on trying to get out there around 3.
Okay, so if I bring 4 pillows by your front porch by 2 o'clock, that'd be okay?
That'd be perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
So look on your porch at 2.
I also asked the staff at Furniture Bank if they could help with Brotherhood Rise's needs. So we'll see what they respond about that.
Cool. I may have just gotten 2 beds from somebody who's dealing with the estate of their mother. So, and they might be just in time for the June thing. So, but he said he's going to, he planned on purchasing the single beds because they only need 2 double beds. That seemed like a good one to do another way. But if anybody knows of places that have good deals on single beds that could be used in the shelter, I know he hasn't purchased those yet.
Well, I'll have Furniture Bank reach out to him. Even if we can't give them away for free, we buy them ridiculously cheap. So we sell mattresses at the Furniture Bank.
I hear this
On the board.
Does Gerald still have the 13 folks that were shuffled over when the city shut down Lighthouse?
I think so.
No, okay.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Can I say
Donald
something?
had something to add too.
Yeah, go ahead, Donald.
Like I said, we're opening up the homeless facility downstairs. So they've donated us the fold-out beds. And we have enough to donate. You don't have to buy them or anything. So you get in touch, touch with me, and blankets. We have blankets for them if they need it. And so we'll put in whatever you need if we have it.
Okay. Fantastic. So anything else we need to cover this morning before we head off to the not yet sunshine? All right. Appreciate everybody. Hope you have a good Friday.
Thank you.
All right. God bless.